Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, India's G20 presidency, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today is commemorated as International Day for the Preservation of Ozone Layer. The ozone layer, a fragile shield of gas, protects Earth from harmful portion of the rays of the sun, thus helping preserve life on the planet. The phase out of controlled uses of ozone depleting substances and the related reductions have not only helped protect the ozone layer for this and future generations, but also contributed significantly to global efforts to address climate change. Furthermore, it has protected human health and ecosystems by limiting the harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching the Earth. This year, Ozone Day is held under the theme Montreal Protocol, fixing the ozone layer and reducing the climate change. Today, we celebrate the achievements of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. This year's theme highlights and reiterates the positive impact of Montreal Protocol on ozone layer recovery and reducing climate change, especially emphasizing the Kingley Amendment, which through the phase down of hydrofluorocarbons, in short known as HFCs, and improved efficiency in cooling sector, will provide additional climate mitigation benefits. The UNEP Ozone Secretariat has prepared a social media package in 6 languages, including cards, videos, and messages for promotion and creating awareness. A number of commonly used chemicals have been found to be extremely damaging to the ozone layer. Halocarbons are chemicals in which one or more carbon atoms are linked to one or more halogen atoms: fluorine, chlorine, bromine, or iodine. Halocarbons containing bromine usually have much higher ozone depleting potential, in short known as ODP, than those containing chlorine. The man-made chemicals that have provided most of the chlorine and bromine for ozone depletion are methyl bromide, methyl chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, and families of chemicals known as halogens, chlorofluorocarbons, that is in short known as CFCs, and hydrochlorofluorocarbons, in short known as HCFCs. The scientific confirmation of the depletion of the ozone layer prompted the international community to establish a mechanism for cooperation to take action to protect the ozone layer. This was formalized in the Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer, which was adopted and signed by 28 countries on 22nd March 1985. In September 1987, this led to the drafting of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. The principal aim of the Montreal Protocol is to protect the ozone layer by taking measures to control total global production and consumption of substances that deplete it, with the ultimate objective of their elimination on the basis of developments in scientific knowledge and technological information. It is structured around several groups of ozone-depleting substances. The groups of chemicals are classified according to the chemical family and are listed in annexes to the Montreal Protocol text. The protocol requires the control of nearly 100 chemicals in several categories for each group or annex of chemicals. The treaty sets out a timetable for the phase-out of production and consumption of those substances with the aim of eventually eliminating them completely. The timetable set by the protocol applies to the consumption of ozone-depleting substances. Consumption is defined as the quantities produced plus imported, plus those quantities exported in any given year. There is also a deduction for verified destruction. Percentage reduction relate to the designated baseline year for the substance. The protocol does not forbid the use of existing or recycled controlled substances beyond phase-out dates. These are a few exceptions for essential uses where no acceptable substitutes have been found. For example, in metered dose inhalers, in short known as MDI, commonly used to treat asthma and other respiratory problems, or halons, fire suppression systems used in submarines and aircraft. In 1994, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 16 September the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer, commemorating the day of the signing in 1987 of the Montreal Protocol on substances that depletes the ozone layer, with resolution 49 by 114. Implementation of the Montreal Protocol progressed well developed and developing countries. All phase-out schedules were adhered to in most cases, some even ahead of schedule. Attention focused initially on chemicals with higher ozone depletion potentials, including CFCs and halons. The phase-out schedule for HCFCs was more relaxed due to their lower ozone depletion potentials and because they have also been used as a transitional substitutes for CFCs. The HCFCs phase-out schedule was introduced in 1992 for developed and developing countries, the later with a freeze in 2050. The final phase out by 2030 is in developed countries and 2040 in developing countries. In 2007, parties to the Montreal Protocol decided to accelerate the HCFC phase out schedule for both developed and developing countries. On 16 September 2009, the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol became the first treaties in the history of the United Nations to achieve universal ratification. The parties of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer reached the agreement at their 28th meeting of the parties on 15th October 2016 in Kigali, Rwanda, to phase down hydrochlorocarbons, HFCs. The Environment Program by United Nations Environment Program, in short known as UNEP, is the leading global environment authority that sees that global environmental agenda promotes coherent implementation of the environmental dimension of sustainable development within the United Nations systems and serves as an authoritative advocate for the global environment. Climate change is defining issue of our time, and we are at a different moment. From shifting weather patterns that threaten the food production to rising sea levels that increase risk of catastrophic flooding. The impacts of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Without drastic action, today, adapting to these impacts in the future will be more difficult and costly. What is ozone? Ozone is a special form of oxygen with the chemical formula O3. The oxygen we breathe and that is so vital to life on Earth is O2. Ozone constitutes a very small part of our atmosphere, but its presence is nevertheless vital to human well-being. Most ozone resides high up in the atmosphere between 10 and 40 kilometers above Earth's surface. This region is called stratosphere, and it contains about 90% of all the ozone in the atmosphere. Why do we care about atmospheric ozone? Ozone in the stratosphere absorbs some of the sun's biologically harmful ultraviolet radiation. Because of this beneficial role, stratospheric ozone is considered good ozone. In contrast, excess ozone at Earth's surface that is formed from pollutants is considered bad ozone because it can be harmful to humans, plants, and animals. The ozone that occurs naturally near the surface and in the lower atmosphere is also beneficial because ozone helps remove pollutants from the atmosphere. Following the pollution and also the publication of the findings in a British Antarctic Survey article in May 1985, the phenomenon of ozone depletion over Antarctica was referred to as the ozone hole, a phase first attributed to Nobel Prize winner Sherwood Rowland. The satellite images of the ozone hole has become a global symbol of this environmental threat that has helped mobilize public support for the Montreal Protocol. The work of the atmospheric scientists and environmental researchers continue to play a paramount role in informing the policy making under the Montreal Protocol. Images and scientific bulletins about ozone depletions are useful communication tools to public and progress made and challenges ahead. Let's look at some ozone depleting substances in different industry sectors. CFCs are used in aerosol products as sterilants of medical equipment and range of miscellaneous applications, including food freezing, tobacco expansion, fumigation, and cancer therapy. Aerosol sterilants and carbotetrachlorides are few of the ozone depleting substances. Carbon tetrachloride is used as a feedstock in the production of CFC11 and CFC12 in the production of key pharmaceuticals and agriculture chemicals, and as a catalyst promoter. CFCs and carbotetrachloride are ozone depleting substances whose production and consumption is controlled under the Montreal Protocol, with support from Protocol's Multilateral Fund delivered by UNEP, UNDP, UNIDO, and the World Bank and the bilateral agencies. Developing countries are phasing out these ozone depleting chemicals in this sector. CFCs have been used extensively in the manufacture of polyurethane, phenolic, polystyrene, and polyolefin foam polymers used in many different products. Common blowing agents have included CFC11, CFC12, CFC113, and CFC114. CFCs are ozone depleting substances whose products and consumption is controlled under the Montreal Protocol, with support from the protocol's multilateral fund delivered by UNEP, UNDP, UNDO, the World Bank, and bilateral agencies. Halon's 1211 has been widely used in the portable fire extinguishers. Halon 1301 has been seen widespread use in fixed systems throughout the industrial, commercial, marine, defense, and aviation industries. Halon 2402 has primarily been used in the defense, industrial, marine, and aviation sector in some countries. Halons are Halons are ozone depleting substances whose production and consumption is controlled under the Montreal Protocol with support from the Montreal Multilateral Fund delivered by UNEP, UNDP, UNIDO, and the World Bank and the bilateral agencies. Developing countries are phasing out these ozone depleting chemicals in their sector. The strategy for the halon sector essentially consists of two approaches: replacing halons with alternatives and halon banking. Alternatives to halons include halocarbon alternatives, inert gases, water, mist, hydrofluorocarbons, in short known as HCFCs, are widely used in refrigeration, foam, solvent, aerosol, and firefighting sectors. As a transitional substance to substitute CFCs, HCFCs are also used as feedstock, raw material, in the production for other chemical products. HCFCs were introduced in 1990s as an alternative chemicals for CFCs and added to the list of substances controlled by the Montreal Protocol. It was acknowledged at that time that these chemicals with considerably lower ozone HCFCs were acknowledged at the time that these chemicals with considerable lower ozone depleting potentials were transitional, and their production and consumption was also to be phased out under the Montreal Protocol. Although having considerably lower ozone depleting potentials than CFCs, many HCFCs have higher global warming potentials of up to 2,000 times than that of carbon dioxide. In 2006, global HCFC production was 34,000 ODP tons, and approximately 75% of global HCFC is in air conditioning and refrigeration sectors. Methyl bromide is widely used as a fumigant in agriculture, for pest control in structures and stored commodities, and for quarantine treatments. Fumigation is a technique that allows the gas to reach pests which are in soil, in durable, in perishables, and in structure and vehicles. This chemical controls a wide range of pests, including pathogens, fungi, bacteria, and soil-borne viruses, insects, mites, and nematodes, and rodents. Methyl bromide is an ozone-depleting substance. With support from the Protocol's Multilateral Fund and the Global Environment Facility, developing countries and countries with economies in transition are reducing and ultimately phasing out their consumption of this chemical. Use of methyl bromide can be reduced and eliminated by adopting alternatives which have been identified for more than 90% of applications. These include chemicals, non-chemical measures, including integrated pest management, the use of methyl bromide can be reduced and eliminated by adopting alternatives which have been identified for more than 90% of the applications. These include chemicals, non-chemical measures, including intelligent integrated pest management, in short known as IPM, or a combination of both. Solvents, coatings, and adhesives. In the past, CFC 113 was essential in many industrial applications. In electronic assembly production, precision cleaning, and generic metal degreasing during manufacture, as well as in dry cleaning and other industrial applications, CFC 113 began to be used in the 1970s in metal degreasing and other areas owing to concern over the toxicity of the chlorinated solvents used previously. For many years, trichlorotherine was the solvent of choice to replace other more toxic. Carbon tetrachloride is no longer used as a solvent in most countries because of its toxicity. but it is still used in some parts of the world. CFC 113, 1-trichloroethane, CTC, and bromide fluoromethane are ozone depleting substances whose production and consumption is controlled under the Montreal Protocol. With support from the protocol's multilateral fund delivered by UNEP, UNDP, UNIDO, the World Bank bilateral agencies, developing countries. So CFC 113, 1-trichloroethane, CTC, and bromofluoromethane are ozone depleting substances whose production and consumption are controlled under the Montreal Protocol with support from the protocol's multilateral fund delivered by UNEP, UNDP, UNIDO, and the World Bank and bilateral agencies. Developing countries are phasing out these ozone depleting chemicals in this section.
When scientists discovered that man-made chemicals used in our daily lives were creating a massive hole in the ozone layer, governments and decision-makers realized they had to act. 99% of ozone-depleting chemicals have been phased out of production, and the 2022 quadrennial reports by the assessment panels to the Montreal Protocol, released in 2023, confirmed that ozone layer recovery is on track, with ozone expected to return to 1980 values by around the middle of this century. But in phasing out ozone-depleting chemicals, we switched to hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, as an alternative. While HFCs don't harm the ozone layer, they are potent climate-warming greenhouse gases, some thousands of times more warming than CO2. Nearly 80% of all HFCs globally are used for cooling, keeping us comfortable and our food and medicines fresh. But cooling is energy intensive, accounting for 10% of all global electricity consumed. Knowing this, and how climate has already benefited from phasing out ozone-harming chemicals, the parties to the Montreal Protocol knew they needed to react. The Kigali Amendment came into force in January 2019. More than 150 countries have already ratified the amendment to phase down these climate-damaging HFCs and replace them with greener alternatives. Scientists estimate this can avoid up to 0.5 degrees Celsius of global warming by the end of the century. If energy efficiency technology in cooling also improves at the same time as phasing down HFCs, scientists estimate the climate benefits could double. If this is applied to cold chains and they become more accessible and affordable, farmers, particularly in poorer countries, can get more of their produce fresh to markets, avoiding food loss and improving their livelihoods, all of which contribute to climate change mitigation. On this World Ozone Day, we celebrate the Montreal Protocol that has for decades been fixing the ozone layer while also reducing climate change. It has become a symbol of hope. Hope that we can once more cross the many divides and find solutions to some very serious global environmental issues.
This is one of the chemicals that destroy ozone in the stratosphere. But that's not all it does. It's also a greenhouse gas. Like carbon dioxide, it prevents heat energy escaping into space and so contributes to global warming. But this ozone-depleting substance is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Over a timescale of 100 years, 1 kilogram of CFC11 has the same impact on global warming as 4,660 kilograms of carbon dioxide. And this isn't even a particularly bad one. Other ozone-depleting substances have an even stronger global warming effect. It's been estimated that if we had not acted to stop these chemicals being used, then by 2010 we would have added the equivalent of 135 billion tons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. To put that saving into perspective, it's equivalent to a quarter of all global emissions between 1990 and 2010. Without early action on ozone-depleting substances, culminating in the Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol, we would already have lost the battle to keep global warming below 2 degrees centigrade. The Montreal Protocol was not designed to mitigate global warming, but it has been spectacularly successful in doing so. And its work is not yet done. Some ozone-depleting substances are still being phased out. Some remain in existing equipment, building insulation and elsewhere, and these need to be managed safely. And now there's a new threat to the climate from the success of the Montreal Protocol itself. These HFCs are some of the chemicals that replace the CFCs. They're not damaging to the ozone layer, but they still contribute to global warming. Their contribution is currently small, but emissions are growing fast, so they're a cause of grave concern. The Montreal Protocol led to a hunt for chemicals such as HFCs that could replace CFCs, but these are contributing to global warming. Working together, we can replace HFCs with chemicals that do not destroy ozone and are climate friendly.
Humans lie in the bright sunshine, but its rays aren't all of the friendly kind. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn it, but just in case you thought it was all bad news, ultraviolet light makes vitamin D in him, in her, in me, in you too. It isn't just humans that have to take care of ultraviolet traveling through space and air. We phytoplankton living in the sea for photosynthesis need UV, but too much bleaches out the green and damages our DNA. Yes, we've been having a hard time for many years, but now let's celebrate, whoop and cheer, that big Antarctic ozone hole is healing now thanks to the Montreal Protocol. fighting fit, floating phytoplankton, living in the big wet sea. Tiny, mighty, thronging, thriving, feisty phytoplankton, dancing nature's choreography. You nod to human spray, ozone depleting stuff, such as chlorofluorocarbons, into the air enough to interfere with ozone that shields Earth from UV rays. But international action has succeeded in reversing ozone's decay. Hooray, hooray, hooray! We're delightful, fighting fit, floating phytoplankton, living in the big wet sea. Tiny, mighty, thronging, thriving, feisty phytoplankton, dancing nature's choreography. UV radiation splits molecules in stratosphere. O2 oxygen divides, quickly recombines, but here, 1 in every 500,000 ends up as ozone. O3, the conquering hero, from UV shields our planetary home. His home, her home, my home, your home, everybody's home. We're life's foundation food. We phytoplankton down at the bottom of the food chain. And now the ozone hole is healing. We're feeling fitter, so once again, we're delightful, fighting fit, floating phytoplankton, living in the big wet sea. Tiny, mighty, thronging, thriving, feisty phytoplankton, dancing nature's choreography. It's wrinkled ozone, dancing nature's choreography. Thanks to ozone, dancing nature's choreography.
Space is closer than you think. When you're flying in an airliner at 11 kilometers above sea level, 3/4 of all the air in the atmosphere is beneath you. At just 20 kilometers above sea level, the pressure is so low that water boils at body temperature. Any altitude above 20 kilometers is like being in space as far as the human body is concerned. But the atmosphere extends further, getting thinner and thinner the higher you go. In the upper reaches of the atmosphere, charged particles blown off the surface of the sun smash into widely spaced air molecules, creating spectacular aurora. This is the view from about 400 kilometers up. From here, the atmosphere is just a delicate glow. But this is all there is between us and space. It protects and nurtures all life on the surface. The edge of space is just 100 kilometers above the ground. Rise above this altitude and you're officially an astronaut. 99.99997% of the air in the atmosphere lies below this level. This shows the distribution of ozone in the atmosphere. It is densest at an altitude of about 26 kilometers. If we separated the ozone from the rest of the air and brought it all together at sea level pressure and temperature, it would form a layer just about 3 millimeters thick. But that's not how ozone is found. This is the ozone layer, the diaphanous region of the stratosphere that filters out 99% of the harmful UVB radiation in sunlight. Ozone is continually created and destroyed in the atmosphere as oxygen interacts with UV. It's a dynamic process, but man-made chemicals can break the cycle. If you brought all the air in the atmosphere together, at sea level pressure and 15 degrees centigrade, this is how much there'd be. It would fit in a sphere just 2,000 kilometers across. Within that air, there is about 3 billion tons of ozone, which if you brought it all together, would look like this. All life on Earth relies on this precious gas in the stratosphere. It's potent, but it's vulnerable. It doesn't take much to disrupt the dynamic process of ozone production. CFCs would quickly have depleted our ozone, but the Vienna Convention has saved the ozone layer from destruction. Ongoing stewardship will secure it.
With this, we shall end the commemoration of International Day for Ozone Depletion Prevention. So today, we are also commemorating International Day for Interventional Cardiology. The burden of non-communicable diseases, in short known as NCDs, including heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, and chronic lung diseases, are collectively responsible for almost 70% of all deaths worldwide. The increasing incidence of non-communicable diseases constitutes a heavy burden on society with serious social and economic consequences. There is a need to respond to cardiovascular diseases, cancers, diabetes, and chronic respiratory diseases, which represent a leading threat to human health and development. Cardiovascular diseases are a group of disorders of heart and blood vessels. As estimated, 17.9 million died from it 2019, representing 32% of all global deaths. Of these deaths, 85% were due to heart attack and stroke. The key to cardiovascular disease reduction lies in the inclusion of cardiovascular disease management interventions in universal health coverage packages. Although in a high number of countries, health systems require significant investment and reorientation to effectively manage cardiovascular diseases. Patients with cardiovascular disease should have access to appropriate technology and medication. Sometimes surgical operations are required to treat cardiovascular diseases. They include coronary artery bypass, balloon angioplasty, where a small balloon-like device is threaded through an artery to open the blockage, valve repair and replacement, heart transplantation, and artificial heart operations. Interventional angiology improves health, increases life expectancy, and improves quality of life. The first coronary angioplasty was performed by Dr. Andreas Grundzig on 16 September 1977. Since then, angioplasty has been procedure that saved most grams of myocardium at risk worldwide. In September 2022, the General Assembly decided to proclaim 16th September as International Day for Interventional Cardiology and invited stakeholders to observe annually the International Day for Interventional Cardiology in an appropriate manner and in accordance with national priorities. In order to raise public awareness of cardiovascular diseases and procedures, related complications, as well as prevention and care, including through education and the mass media. In 2013, World Health Organization member states agreed on global mechanisms to reduce the avoidable burden of non-communicable diseases, including a global action plan for the prevention and control of NCDs 2013 to 2020. This plan aims to reduce the number of premature deaths from non-communicable diseases by 25% by 2025 through 9 voluntary global targets. 2 of the targets directly focus on preventing and controlling cardiovascular diseases. The World Health Organization is one of the many members of the UN family engaged in health-related matters, which includes, among others, the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, in short known as UNAIDS, the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, in support to reproductive, adolescent, and maternal health, and the health-related activities of the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF. Cardiovascular diseases are leading cause of death globally. Over 3/4 of the deaths from cardiovascular disease takes place in low and middle income countries. Most cardiovascular disease can be prevented by addressing behavioral risk factors such as tobacco use, unhealthy diet and obesity, physical inactivity, and harmful use of alcohol. The World Health Organization Global NCD Action Plan 2013 to 2020 follows on from commitment made by the head of the state and government in United Nations political declaration on the prevention and control of NCD's resolution 66/2, recognizing the primary role and responsibility of governments in responding to the challenges of NCDs and the important role of international cooperation to support national efforts. Today is also commemorated as Working Parents Day in US, which is an annual celebration that takes place on September 16. Working parents have to manage both the family and work, and also have to manage several responsibilities at one time. Holding down a full-time job, taking care of children's all-round needs, daily household responsibilities, and most importantly, taking care of themselves. It's only fair that they get the appreciation they deserve. And it is a much-needed holiday to appreciate the efforts of people who handle multiple responsibilities. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics has stated that around 61% of the families with children have both parents working outside the home. Back in 1700s through 1900s, traditional gender roles for non-white immigrants were overlooked as both needed to work in order to survive. Later, immigrants of Chinese descent saw both father and mother running laundry houses. The situation later changed as the mothers started taking up more household activities. Much later, in the 1950s and 1960s, television portrayed a stereotypical culture where men went to work to earn money and support and their families, while women stayed at home as housewives and caregivers for children. This led to deep-rooted belief that men and women had to follow these gender roles, and any other way would receive negative flack from the society. Now, in the current age, we see many more mothers in the workforce, and is a welcome change. Parents have realized the importance of breaking stereotypes and doing what works best for them. Parents even tend to find flexible hours where at least one parent stays home with the child. Each aspect of their daily lives is otherwise carefully planned by working parents to ensure everyone's needs are met in the best way possible. Working parents are unsung heroes and deserve more than they get. However, family meals and other small experiences are what make it all worth it. A study estimates that approximately 2 million parents have made career sacrifices for their families in 2016. 41% of the working mothers in the US are family breadwinners, earning at least half of the total household income as per 2017. The Bureau of Labor Statistics states almost 33.6 million families have at least one child at home under the age of 18 in 2018. The labor force participation rate of mothers with children under 6 is 66.4% in 2019. A working parent is typically a father or a mother who holds a single or more job and juggles a professional and family life. Working parents may be entitled to some benefits such as child tax credit, child care, flexible working, parental leave, etc. There are some advantages to having working parents in the household, such as reduced financial burden, quality daycare, early education, and so on. While work is important and it is no small feat to have a job while parenting, use this day to take off and spend time with your children and create memories. You do not have to do something extraordinary, grand to celebrate this day. A simple lunch or dinner followed by a movie marathon or an outdoor picnic would be an ideal way to celebrate this day, or in your own way, whichever you can manage. Juggling two important roles can be tough and can take it all on your overall well-being. On Working Parents Day, treat yourself to a self-care day. At a time, married women in some cultures were prohibited from working outside the home through marriage bars. It is harder for women to maintain a work-life balance owing to society's added pressure on women being a caretaker first. The Netherlands and Ireland have some of the strongest housewife traditions. The phrase "mommy wars" is used to describe a conflict for mothers in being full-time caregivers and working professionals. Working mothers are often faced with a glass ceiling situation where they are unable to climb the corporate ladder owing to household responsibilities. Being a working parent is no joke. It requires a lot of mental and physical stamina. Working Parent Day appreciates the efforts of these individuals to make it for them and give them recognition they deserve. Many parents, especially mothers, often feel guilty for leaving their child at home while they go to work. This has often been caused by societal norms. However, Working Parents Day breaks away from the trend and instead appreciates the people who make the hard decision to work and to be parent at the same time. Working Parents Day fosters community sorts of professionals who have a job to do at home and in the office. It allows them to find common platform and share their experiences with others who understand their position. Today is also commemorated as World Barber Day. Did you know barbers in the Middle Ages were not only skilled at haircuts and wet shaves, but also pulling teeth, dressing wounds, and performing operations? These barber surgeons were known for much more than just styling men's or women's hair. They even founded the first barbers organization in France in 1096. World Barber Day celebrates the sense of community. It's a demonstration of how ordinary barbers can contribute to extraordinary differences. This emphasizes how, in just 1 week, every barber can make a real and significant difference in this world. Barbers used to be most talented men in their tribes and generally specialized in more than one discipline. People were quite superstitious about haircuts and shaving back then because they thought the bad spirits entered the body through the hair. Only the most trustworthy individuals were entrusted with the task of barbering, which was usually the priest or the clan leader. In recent years, there has been a growing appreciation for the unique role that barbers play in assisting people with their mental health. One such example is a non-profit venture in which salon doubles up as a meeting place for men of color to discuss their issues. A similar program is taking shape in the UK, where NHS, the country's public health service, announced a 2020 initiative to prove mental health first aid training to barbers. Barbers have been practicing their trade for thousands of years, but it is only recently that barbers have gained recognition for their contribution to humanity. Booksy, which supports thousands of barbers, took advantage of the chance to commemorate a day when customers and barbers get together and contribute money for several social causes. Barbers are often self-sufficient, driven entrepreneurs, and that work relentlessly to keep their clients happy. It's a lot to handle, so Booksy created World Barber Day to remind barbers that taking a day off, taking some time for themselves, and talking about their difficulties are perfectly acceptable. Aside from acting as a therapist for their consumers, they also choose to donate together to help a social cause. The word barber is derived from the Roman Latin word barba, which means bird. That's why barbers are called. Egyptians performed the first barbering services in 5000 BC in the West using instruments made from oyster shells or sharpened flint. So the wealthiest barber is Ramesh Babu, the billionaire barber who owns a Rolls Royce as well as 400 other luxury vehicles. Professional barbers can reach out to aspiring students, help them to prepare for the state licensure, or assist those who are reappearing for their exams. Share your industry knowledge with others and learn from them as well. Spend time networking in order to grow your business. In ancient Rome, men used to catch up on the news and rumors while getting a haircut. The classic striped barber pole that normally outside real barber shops is a result of the barber's second job as a surgeon, and it depicts barbers hanging bloody bandages to dry on a pole. This does not appear to be a sanitary, but some places used to require regular grooming as an unwritten written law. Until the 1800s, barbers competed with surgeons for jobs until science caught up and more complex surgeries required expert knowledge of biology. Barbering as a practice is nearly 6,000 years old, and one can even find old blades as relics in museums. Every state strives to do good for its community, and local barber will always know what's needed and how to fix the community woes. Today is commemorated as Usher Syndrome Awareness Day. This rare genetic disease has long gone unrecognized, but many are working hard to bring it to light. Usher syndrome affects eyesight, hearing, and mobility. The main issue is that it could take years for these symptoms to develop. Children are often diagnosed with hearing loss first. Unbeknownst to them and their parents, they may go blind as well. This disease has no known cure, but much research is being done to help those suffering it. Join us on our mission to raise awareness and encourage donations. Usher syndrome is a serious genetic condition that causes varying degrees of deafness, blindness, and mobility issues. This disease is a rare and as such has gone undiagnosed for a long time. It is estimated that about 4 lakh all over the world suffer from this disease. The disease was recognized by the Charles Usher. Charles Usher was a Scottish ophthalmologist born on March 2nd, 1865. He identified the disease in 1940. This disease is inherited in a specific chromosome pattern where 2 effective genes are present. People who carry one mutation of the disease are not affected by it, but also serves testing on animals showed that gene therapy could restore balance and hearing in mice. A cure could be on the horizon. Rarely anyone outside the Ashkenazi Jewish and Finnish population is diagnosed with type 3, so it's more common within some ethnicities. A child is more likely to have Usher syndrome if their parents are related than if their parents are not related but carry the same gene mutation. So the symptoms of Usher syndrome often begin in childhood or at birth, but can start later in life and continue to worsen. Newborns now get hearing screens, which helps lower the age of children are diagnosed with hearing loss by about 6 months. Today is also commemorated as Teenage Workout Day. The teen years are the first we become aware of social influences around us. Such issues involving family, gender roles, and beauty standards suddenly garner more attention as we start to form critical thinking. Along with the puberty comes not just physical changes, but a shift in the way we view world and ourselves. When obesity is present in the home, it can be damaging for teens to grow and develop properly into healthy adults. Teenager Workout Day is relevant because it allows teens an opportunity to start an active lifestyle for the better. This day aims to spread awareness about teenage obesity while helping them to look for better ways to excuse. Many schools and government programs in the US have targeted childhood obesity. To supplement these efforts, this day is dedicated to giving teens a chance to start a workout program. In 2017, over 4 million deaths associated with obesity have been reported globally. Obesity is defined as an excessive fat accumulation that presents a health risk to the individual. A body mass index of over 25 is considered overweight, while anything over 30 is obese. It has grown to become a leading problem in US. Over 12 million children and teens have been affected. Family history, low self-esteem, stress, and medications are seen contributors to this illness, such as diabetes. Aside, breathing problems such as asthma and sleep apnea are also more common in those who are overweight. Joint pain is also a concern since the extra pounds cause stress on the hips and knees. Aside from switching to a healthy diet, physical activity is also an excellent way to fight obesity. While losing weight is the main focus of exercise, there are also positive mental effects of working out as well. It leads to less stress, a sharper memory, curbing unhealthy addictions, as well as helps to elevate anxiety and depression. Slowly working to change your family's eating habits and increasing their activity levels can greatly benefit teens in the long term. Starting to form positive habits while they are young can help them grow into physically and mentally fit adults. So why we need mobility? It makes you feel good. It builds strong bones and muscles. It keeps skin healthy. It promotes better sleep quality and it boosts energy levels. So physical activity stimulates the production of endorphins, which are brain's feel-good neurotransmitters that elevate mood. It helps release hormones that promote your muscles' ability to absorb amino acids, aiding in their growth as well as building bone density, which may prevent osteoporosis. It improves blood circulation, which leads to delayed signs of skin aging. Working out helps you sleep deeper and longer, making you feel more well-tested. Regular exercises can increase energy levels even in people who suffer persistent fatigue and those with chronic healthcare problems. Today is also commemorated as National Cleanup Day in US. With efforts aimed at reducing litter and cleaning up their local communities, parks, trails, beaches, and open spaces. Americans are encouraged to keep the outdoors clean and volunteer their time to collect trash and beautify their neighborhoods and green spaces. Staged in conjunction with the World Cleanup Day, the events bring together almost 2 million volunteers in the US alone. Events happen throughout September, including National Public Lands Day. After all, and being a good citizen includes keep your communities clean. Today is also commemorated as National Dance Day in US. So we brought the music and you bring the moves, or feel free to bring your own cues. We are not too particular on this music choice or who brings the beats. We really just can't wait to see you on the floor. If you have a favorite dance, move, or go to routine, this is the time for all to break it down on the dance floor. The Groovy Day was created to help encourage Americans to enjoy the art of movement as a creative outlet to promote a healthy lifestyle. Hitting the dance floor is not only an artistic outlet, but helps to improve muscle tone, bone density, balance, flexibility, and strength. It was officially launched in 2010 by national dance fans, both politicos and dance extraordinaries. Up until 2019, the day was observed in July. However, 2020 will be the second time that it will be officially observed on the third Saturday in September. Nigel Letogo, co-creator of So You Think You Can Dance and the co-founder of American Dance Movement, partnered with Congressman Eleanor Holmes Norton to start this holiday 10 years ago. Congresswoman Norton introduced National Dance Day as a resolution with the goal of promoting artistic expression and exercise. Dance is also a great way to improve both emotional and mental health as well. Staying active on a consistent basis is a great way to release tension, stress, build muscle, and be in all around better mood. Every aspect of our health is interconnected. Health is wealth, and we all need that currency. This fun-filled day of movement was moved from July to September because of an essential collaboration with the American Heart Foundation. The association approved the National Dance Day team because they sought new dance material and video content for their Kids Health initiative, the Kids Health Challenge. Given in part because of the school-affiliated nature of the partnership, the date for the national dance moved from summer months to early fall during the academic year in 2019. We'll resume in a minute. Today is also commemorated as National Gymnastics Day in US. Gymnastics are as old as ancient Greece, where exercise helped men stay fit and battle ready. In modern times, National Gymnastics Day is held annually on the third Saturday of September, mirroring ancient Greece. The first National Gymnastics Day was held in the late 1990s as a way of getting young people more involved in the importance of exercise. So gyms will turn into beehives of activity with displays and exhibitions highlighting the benefits of a healthy body for kids and adults alike. The Federation of International Gymnastics was created in Belgium in 1881. A group of female athletes was allowed to compete in the Olympics for the very first time in 1928. A group of Olympic champions and other athletes crisscrossed the United States performing exhibitions promoting National Gymnastics Day, and that's how the National Gymnastics Day was born in 1999. Almost 44,000 participants turned upside down simultaneously in 2012, an upside down victory. The winners of the Chobani Creative Cup Award walked away with 400 cups of Chobani yogurt for their gym. The competition for Chobani Creative Cup Award was organized in 2017. The father of modern gymnastics is Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, a German teacher who touted the benefits of gymnastic routines like the parallel bar and the ring. Although women weren't admitted into Olympics until late 1920s, today only women can compete in the balance beam and the uneven bars, so it's for ladies only. Even 2-year-olds can prepare for major gymnastic competition at most gyms, so you are never too young to practice and compete. Trampolines aren't just for backyards anymore. Since trampolining became a competitive Olympic sport in 2000, it's got bounds. Gabby Douglas made it a hit as the first African-American to win the individual all-round event in 2012 when she was 16. Exercise doesn't have to be a chore. It's so good for the body that we have to remember why we are sweating during a sprint class in the first place. We want to look and feel great. And this day, National Gymnastics Day, is a fun reminder of different types to integrate movement into our lives. Plus, you get fellowship of working out at a gym. National Gymnastics Day also encourages children to develop a love for the sport that could last a lifetime. National Gymnastics Day gives us a chance to show off what we have learned in those early morning fitness classes. Gyms all over the country will host special competitions and exhibitions so that everyone can either participate in or watch a special gymnastics event. This is your time to try out for the one sport that you have been trying to master. And National Gymnastics Day gives you a safe space for your efforts. Even if you don't join a gym, you might meet new people sitting on the bleachers at a competitive event, or get an autograph from your favorite sports personality at a festival. Sometimes the most supportive thing you can do is cheer on a team or a friends as they compete. National Gymnastics Day is all about health. Today is also commemorated as National Boys and Girls Club Day for kids in US. It means celebrating children with a variety of fun activities. It was created by the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, which works to enable all young people to reach their full potential as productive, caring, responsible citizens. The organization was founded in 1860 in Hartford, Connecticut, as a way to provide positive alternative for character development for young boys who were roaming the streets. By 1990, the organization broadened its scope to include girls into its fold. Across the globe, many countries and cultures have special days to appreciate and celebrate children. From the Korean Chuseok to World's Children's Day declared by the United Nations, many holidays exist to remind children how precious they are to the world. National Boys and Girls Club Day for Kids is one such holiday meant to celebrate young people. In 1990, the club broadened its scope to include girls as well. The organization name was changed to Boys and Girls Club of America, and its charter were amended and renewed by Congress. The organization celebrated 100 years of existence in 2006, marking a century of providing hope and opportunity to young people across the country. Today is also commemorated as National Cinnamon Raisin Bread Day in US. It is a day to celebrate the goodness of cinnamon-flavored raisin loaves of bread. The bread is also sometimes called the bread of iron because of the high iron content of the raisins it contains that help the body perform many of its vital functions. It can be enjoyed buttered and toasted with a cup of coffee, orange or apricot marmalade, and is mostly a fixture of food menus in cinnamon raisin bread days. Historically, what today is a cinnamon raisin bread has evolved over many different variants. The present day raisin bread that we celebrate in US was made popular in England in 60s. Raisin that are major fixture of the bread are gotten from grapes, a fruit that US produces a lot. And celebrates through National Raisin Day that happens 30th April of each year. In most cases, on this day, people just go to pick up freshly baked loaves of cinnamon raisin bread from their favorite shop. Today is also commemorated as National Choose Your Chocolate Day in US. This perfect combination of cocoa, milk, and sugar has been celebrated for thousands of years and has graced the tables of kings, presidents, celebrities, and of course, your grandparents. To honor the confection and women who innovate and whose innovative and high quality recipes have laid the foundation for nearly 100 years of candy making excellence. Today is also commemorated as National Play-Doh Day in US. This day is dedicated to everyone's favorite childhood plaything, Play-Doh, calling all of Play-Doh farmers' current enthusiasts to remember the small yellow box of vibrant, squishy fun. Play-Doh is one of the most popular, widely used children's playthings in the world. However, it wasn't originally meant to be for children. It was supposed to be a wallpaper cleaner. It all started back in 1933 when Cleo McVicker and his brother Noah developed a non-toxic malleable formula for wallpaper cleaner for Kutol products in Cincinnati, Ohio. After World War II, many houses converted to oil and gas-based furnaces, eliminating the need for wallpaper cleaners. When Cleo McVicker passed away, his son Joseph took over and struggled to keep the business afloat as the demand kept plummeting. In 1990, it was in 1955 that Kay Zufall, a school teacher and McVicker's sister-in-law, suggested marketing and selling the product as arts and crafts and playthings. She showed him the art created by her students by molding this clay and convinced him to sell the product through a new lens. McVicker began selling play dough to elementary kids under the name of Rainbow Crafts Company, a subsidiary of Kutol Products. What made Play-Doh an overnight sensation, though, was the fact that Bob Keeshan, also known as Captain Kangaroo, showcased the product on the most popular children's television show once a week. Sales skyrocketed for Play-Doh, making it a household name, and the rest is history. So what started as a simple wallpaper cleaner now came in multiple colors with its own accessories and was soon acquired by Hasbro, which sells the product to this day. Today is also commemorated as National Sew a Jelly Roll Day in US. It is a day on which quilters get to sew up their many bundles of pre-cut and unused fabrics, which are usually referred to as jelly rolls. When sewing, a wide range of effects can be used by a quilter to contribute to the final quality and utility of quilted material. The quilter manages these effects by manipulating such things as the type and thickness of the material, the stitch length and the style, pattern design, and piecing and cutting. The origin of the word quilt is tied to the Latin word calcita, which means a bolster or a cushion. The term used is supposed to have recorded in England for the first time in the 13th century. The sewing techniques of piecing and quilting have, however, been used for clothing and furnishing purposes in various parts of the world for several thousand years. The earliest garment known to have quilted is depicted long back in Egypt. Quilting has been part of needlework tradition in Europe since 5th century, with early objects containing Egyptian cotton, an indication of possibility. Quilting objects were, however, relatively scarce in Europe until about 12th century, when quilting bedding and other such items surfaced. Today is also commemorated as National Sit with a Stranger Day in US. It was created in a bid to encourage people of all ages and gender to strike up a conversation with a random stranger for the sole purpose of seeing things from a perspective of others. In the era of where lockdowns have become norm, National Sit with a Stranger Day was created by the BDOP LLC team and a bottled water company that is creating a catalyst for optimism, encouragement, and relationships. The day presents a splendid opportunity to start a random, friendly conversation with someone and make a new connection. A stranger is generally portrayed as an outsider and a figure of uncertainty because they could be a friend, an enemy, or a both. This makes them a potential source of conflict. The origin of the word stranger can be traced back to the Middle French word étranger, which meant a foreigner or an alien. The term strangers was first used about the time that the textile industry was beginning to flourish in the 15th century. This was the oldest known instance of its use. Strong trading linkages and relatively unnoticed immigration caused several settlements to relocate from one location to another in the pursuit of greener pastures. By 16th century, newer European areas like Netherlands, Belgium, and France had begun to create goods that were both cheaper and of higher quality than those produced in older European nations. Because of this, another migration took place during which skilled immigrants moved to areas that were abundant in textile materials and began instructing local employees on how to manufacture new sorts of cloth. The high level of workmanship and originality displayed by the skilled immigrants prompted city authorities in England to write a letter to Queen Elizabeth I pleading for the monarch authorization to allow immigrant workers to permanently stay in England. In addition, the political climate in Spain at that time was hostile against Protestants, which led thousands of people to leave the country in search of religious freedom in other countries. Today is also commemorated as National Step Family Day in US. Families come in all shapes and sizes, small, big, biological, adoptive, and even step. And they all deserve to be celebrated. Unlike most types of families, members of a blended family choose to come together, whether it's because of divorce, estrangement, death, or any other reason. Step families need to unite and rebuild their lives together, and that deserves recognition. While love and appreciation go beyond just one day, there is something special about taking out someone and some time to celebrate on a designated day. Special days have been around for a long time, such as Mother's Day, Father's Day, Daughter's Day, Siblings Day, and so on. However, blended families were unable to get the recognition that they deserve. As times changed and society became more accepting, recognition came into place for the concepts that were historically considered non-traditional. Divorce and remarriage became more common, and hence so did step families. Along with the internal struggles of blending families, step families have been subjected to stigma and negative stereotypes by society. These families are expected to fit in negative roles propagated by film and television, which often makes it harder to make things work. Despite this societal pressure, there are thousands of blended families that survive and thrive through all the hurdles for the sake of love and each other. Today in USA, over 30% of under 18 population lives in a step family environment. Blended families are now more common than ever and deserve a day to be celebrated and recognized. Driven by this, step-parent Christine Tusing Vogel created National Step Family Day in 1997. Since then, September 16 of every year has been a dedication to step families all around the nation, including her home. Today is also commemorated as National Tattoo Story Day in US to inspire you to get your body inked. Tattoos are an ancient form of body art that has lasted long enough for us to take an interest and practice it. A day is set aside from the National Day for celebrating the art of tattooing on July 17th. Today, National Tattoo Story Day has been observed annually since 2015 as a day dedicated to the stories behind our tattoos. Today is also commemorated as International Coastal Cleanup Day to promise to bring cleanliness and purity to the nature as a whole. The day was started as a way to raise awareness about the growing population on various beaches of the world. Population growth and capitalism are just two of the main factors that have led to severely high levels of pollution in the environment, particularly in the oceans that make up over 70% of our planet. Water has a cyclic nature, which means that anything we are putting into our oceans and other water bodies will come back to us sooner or later. For every mile of ocean, there are at least 46,000 pieces of plastic debris floating within said distance. Furthermore, as plastic does not decompose Over a longer period, the only disintegrates minute plastic particles are already showing up in our food, water, and our body. If these trends continue, it won't be long before we face disastrous outcomes for our environment. So the International Coastal Cleanup Day came into existence more than 30 years ago. It was founded by Linda Marineses and Kathy O'Hara, both of whom worked at the Ocean Conservancy, a non-profit environmental agency that specializes in formulating resolutions and policies at federal and government levels. In 1986, Marineses was inspired by O'Hara's work and dedication towards cleaning up the ocean. The latest paper, which was due to be published next year, focused on plastic pollution in ocean. Marineses discussed her interest with O'Hara about starting a day to bring attention to the ocean's growing pollution problem. They approached several environmental groups and activists with the idea, and in no time, the duo had enough support to start an official cleanup. The idea was simple: go to a local beach with a garbage bag and start picking up trash in order to reduce the amount that would be swept into ocean by water or wind. Cleaning up the beaches wasn't the only aim of International Coastal Cleanup Day. Another important goal was to document and study the type of trash collected during the cleanup. Documentation included studying the trash material, where it would come from, how long it would take to disintegrate, and what impact it would have on the ocean and the species living it. Once everything is identified and documented thoroughly, the governments are informed about the findings. In order to prevent further damage, lobbying efforts are started at the national and international levels. Industries also face policies that would stop them from either producing such items or dumping them into the oceans. Ever since its inception, the day has seen over 600 million volunteers in over 90 countries. Today is also commemorated as International Eat an Apple Day, which encourages us to bite into crunchy, bright colored fruit. Don't stop there. The goal here is to eat one each day, as the saying goes. That's how keep doctor away. The apple originated in Central Asia, in the Tian Sha mountain range of Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. In human terms, we would call this species of apple as a great grandparent of the present apple. The older wild apple featured prominently in the food and culture of the region it came from, loosely meant as father of apples. Merchants using the Silk Road, a network of trade routes connecting China and Far East to the Middle East and Europe, discovered these wild apples and were the reason this fruit spread to Western Europe. From there, European colonists took apple to America. As the story goes, these very first apple trees were planted in the Massachusetts Bay Colony by pilgrims. Over the years, these wild apples were cultivated and cross-pollinated to become the species of what we see in commercial farms today. Today is also commemorated as International Red Panda Day to spread awareness regarding yet another species that is near extinction. The day was launched by Red Panda Network in 2010, and the first International Red Panda Day was celebrated in September that every year. Since then, need to continue honoring the day was only increased due to global warming and the climate change. All you have to do is celebrate this International Day and do all that you can play a positive role in conservation of species. Red pandas are adorable creatures that reside in the eastern Himalayas regions of the world. This includes places like China, Nepal, and Bhutan. Unfortunately, like hundreds of other animals on Earth, this species also faces a threat of extinction soon. Because of the mankind, humans have caused such environmental degradation that red pandas who reside in bamboo trees don't find any trees they can nest in. Other human activities that have threatened the survival of these species include poaching, habitat destruction, and trafficking. In fact, red panda fur is also trafficked to produce hats and clothing. Due to these factors, red pandas are legally protected in India, Bhutan, China, Nepal, and Myanmar. According to a report, another report that focuses on the conservation of animals highlighted the problem of decreasing red pandas to be poor conservation awareness and weak law enforcement. The Himalayas, where the red pandas mostly reside, also provides a weak law and order situation for the protection of species. Hence, the animal is often hunted. Most importantly, the Nepalese government don't have sufficient funds to research how the species can be saved. This is why the IUCN Red List classifies red pandas as endangered. One such organization that is constantly working for the red pandas includes World Wildlife Fund. The natural habitat for red pandas includes areas like eastern Himalayas in places like China, Nepal, Bhutan, and India. Red pandas are eaten by predators such as snow leopard and occasionally martens. There are less than 10,000 red pandas in the wild today. Red pandas are carnivores that love bamboo shoots, that eats plants. Females stop breeding after age 12. Red pandas are fond of snow. They spend 55% of the day sleeping. Red pandas are also called bearcat, firefox, and Himalayan raccoon. So this day is essential since it provides knowledge and information regarding red pandas, a species that numerous people aren't aware of. The day discusses why red pandas are near extinction and how they can be saved if we all put in an extra effort. Numerous organizations highlight the precautions of its species going extinct from the planet and why red pandas must be saved. Today is also commemorated as Malaysia Day, the anniversary of the formation of the Malaysian Federation, which took place on the same date in 1963. Malaysia has two different national days. However, both of them are embedded with tales of sacrifices and freedom. So both days are recognized as honorable days by Malaysia. And Malaysia Day is also known as Hari Malaysia. This day was not recognized as an official until 2010. The celebrations of Malaysia Day primarily include national ceremonies that celebrate the strength of Malaysians. Today is also commemorated as Maldives Femiduvas in the Maldivian language and is observed annually on the first of the third month of the Islamic calendar, identified as Rabi al-Awwal, and this year it is observed on September 16. This is to celebrate the victory of Muhammad Thakur Fanu al-Awzam over the Portuguese occupation in the year 1517. The day of celebrations typically include route marches, parades on the stress of meal, as well as on the islands. There could be occasionally also be flag raising ceremonies and fireworks to celebrate the day. Today is also commemorated as Mayflower Day in US to reminiscence about the history of the journey that set the precedent for the modern day United States. To the uninitiated, the part of continental America that the travelers on the Mayflower ship settled in 1620 into the territory of America's New England region, states like Connecticut and Rhode Island. Mayflower Day is a day set to commemorate the history of the journey that saw travelers from England who were seeking refugees sail through the ocean to create a new colony in the Promised Land, which is territory of the modern-day United States. Although the ship reached and eventually docked at present-day Cape Cod, Massachusetts, in its original destination was a region in and around the present-day territory of the U.S. state of Virginia. According to historical records, rough sea conditions and storms prevented it from reaching its final destination in Virginia and subsequently docked at an area around present today, the Hudson River, in what it is now New York State. The original 1 or 2 travelers on Mayflower were led by the group of English merchants known as London Adventurers. As one of those journals, most of the written account of the 66-day journey was obtained from. Today is also commemorated as Mexican Independence Day. Today is also commemorated as National AKC Responsible Ownership Day in US. This day is launched by the American Kennel Club and is designated, designed for pet parents, particularly dog parents, to take a break and reminiscence on the commitments they have made to their furry friends. It is a day that encourages people to commit to their loyal dogs and about the obligations we have to our pets. Most parenting organizations who are stakeholders of the National AKC Responsible Dog Ownership Day host this day around the same time, but not necessarily on the same date. Today is also commemorated as National Trail of Tears Commemoration Day in US. It marks an atrocities event in the history where Cherokees and other Native Americans were forced out of their homes and sent to live in a region assigned by the government. During this journey conducted on foot, many people died in a ghastly manner, remembered by their predecessors until today. Hence, the day marks it impossible for us to forget all the people who suffered during the dark time in American history. Today is also commemorated as Papua New Guinea Independence Day from Australia. The founders of this nation considered that imperial honors had a cachet and therefore adopted a monarch system. The monarch system and the monarch is represented by the Governor General of Papua New Guinea, a position currently held by Bob Dede. Today is also commemorated as Puppy Mill Awareness Day. This day aims to encourage dog lovers to adopt dogs instead of shopping for them. This is done by giving an insight into the cruel conditions faced by dogs in puppy mills. Yes, dog breeders at puppy mills don't care about how the dog is raised, how healthy it is, and also ignores the basic needs such as the necessity of an open and clean space. Most importantly, dogs at puppy mills are deprived of love and instead solely treated like a baby-making machines. Well, we buy puppies from unreliable places and contribute to the torture of dogs, whether we like it or not. This year you can make a difference. Now it's time to adopt and save lives. Today is also commemorated as Responsible Dog Ownership Day in US, designated to get all pet parents to pause and remember the promises they have made to the forever friends. Responsible Dog Ownership Day encourages people to commit to their loyal pooches the right away. The day falls right in the middle of Responsible Dog Ownership Month. Most affiliate organizations of the sponsoring company host this day around the same time, but not necessarily on the same date. Today is also commemorated as Stay Away from Cetil Day In US, it is a much needed day of the Emerald City from the influx of people coming in here all around. Everyone needs a break and settle. One of the America's most cities to live in and is no exception. Today is also commemorated as Feast Portland in US, which takes place during September each year and will next be celebrated from 18 this year. Historically, it's a 4-day festival held in Portland, Oregon. Feast Portland, or simply the feast, is the premier celebration of the Pacific Northwestern culinary culture and to showcase their regional food and drinks. This event offers hands-on classes, toasting panels for wine and beer, and a dinner series with internationally acclaimed chefs. This event is not only seen as a festival where food and drink are celebrated, but also as a platform where Oregon can showcase its culinary bounty. Today is also commemorated as Collect Rocks Day in US. This day allows us to have a nice day out, but also learn more about the planet we inhabit and how it is formed. Today is also commemorated as Batman Day in US. And the ageless storytelling of his life through comic books and movies. Citizens of Gotham and of the world honor Batman's legacy on this fun-filled day that celebrates a pop culture icon. This day is celebrated across the globe due to Batman's popularity in TV, film, and comics. For more than 80 years, Batman has gained much popularity as a character who reflects justice for fans all over the world. The Batman, let's celebrate the practicing their own spiritual. Today is also commemorated as Annie Broad Street Day in US. The death anniversary of the eminent poet and writer. She is considered one of the most important early English poets in North America and was the first writer to get published in England's North American colonies. This day is a day of remembrance for all her revolutionary work. Today is also commemorated as Oktoberfest from September 16 to October 3, a 16-day festival held every year in Munich during late September and early October. This year it stretches from September 16 to October 3rd. Features paradise food, live music, and boatland of beer. More than 600 million travelers attend the festival each year. Together, they consume a whopping 7 million liters of beer. Today is also commemorated as Abergavenny Food Festival, celebrated in the Welsh town of Abergavenny on the 3rd weekend of September. This year, the festivities will take place from September 16 to 30. With this, we shall end today's commemoration. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow. At the same time, take a good night. The feedback form has been launched in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. Thank you everyone once again for joining us. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, do not forget to fill the feedback form. Happy weekend.